This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you courtesy of Michelob Ultra Beer.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is the radio show and podcast designed to give you insights into the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace trends shaping the workplace and the workforce and the marketplace around us. My goal is to find the guests, and you've heard me say this before, who can give us some insights on things that are going on out there. And once we understand them and see the world from my guest's point of view, maybe we can learn some things and adopt some things that we can use to make ourselves a little bit better at whatever it is that we do. Again, welcome. Glad to have you along for the ride. The guest today is Angelo Depaola, and you may recognize that name. He's an advertiser on the show, and I try to keep up with my advertisers as best I can, keep in touch with them, etc. Angelo and I were having lunch not long ago, and he explained to me some of the market dynamics that are shaping the real estate world. Angelo is a realtor down in the southern part of Alabama in Gulf Shores. He represents properties all over the Gulf and was giving me a sense of the factors shaping the real estate market today. And the clients of his and where they're coming from and how far people are traveling to own second homes. His business has a lot of second homes. And he was giving me a sense of what's going on out there. And I've learned in my engagement with him that his customer service is perhaps, I don't know, it's as good as any I've ever been a part of. And I'm not a customer. He's a customer of mine. But on a regular basis, get updates from him about the marketplace and thank you notes. And, hey, I saw this and thought of you. What I know about Angelo is that he has created a robust business by following a series of practices that keeps him front of mind with his real estate clients, both current and past and potential future, that have made him a remarkably successful guy. He first and foremost knows the job. Second, he knows his marketplace. And third, he knows how to maintain that customer relationship. And when he began to explain this to me not long ago about everything he does to stay relevant in his marketplace, I thought, you know what, Angelo, I'm grateful to have you as an advertiser, but you're also a show, I think. You've got so much insight into this. I'm confident that there are people who are listening that would love to hear what it is that you do to maintain these remarkable customer relationships. So when we come back from break, we'll have Angelo in the studio with me, and we'll get into learning about how he does what it is that he does. Folks, I can promise you it's comprehensive, it's thorough, and he's a really nice guy, which helps him with his business. I'm hoping you can't hear anything different if you're a regular listener of the show. But the show has taken another leap forward as we're trying to push things every year. And I'm recording from my new studio, which is a segment of my office that I've carved out to do this. I've got all kinds of new equipment that I'm utilizing here. I'm sure this is not of interest to you. And most importantly, I have a new software system that is absolutely bewildering. I've taken a big leap into new software, more than what I've ever done before. In this little software program called Adobe Audition has about 10 times the number of knobs and dials and things on the screen that I'm used to. And goodness knows, I hope that I'm doing this right. It's always fearful to try something new for the first time. However, as the show continues to grow and we're pushing to new marketplaces and trying to create barter arrangements with the stations that host the show, it's time to step up in a number of new ways. And this Adobe Audition software, I'm probably using 1/10 of 1% of its capabilities, but that's really all I need, and it's already more than intimidating. Anyway, we're moving forward. Angelo Depaola will be with me when we turn the mics back on in a few minutes here in the studio. Please check us out online. As I said in the opening comments, this is also a podcast. And if you ever want to find previous shows, go to whatsworkingcam.com. Again, that's whatsworkingcam.com, where you can see all the shows as well as the links to all the shows in the different places where you can find them, podcast apps. And you can find us on social media. Part of the new year is a big new push into social media, which is intimidating as well. You can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook is the one that I utilize the most, though I think that's going to change. And Instagram, look for my name, Cam Marston, or some other jerk out there has the name Cam Marston and won't give it to me. Cam Marston, the numeral 1. When we come back from break, me and Angelo Depaola. Be right back.
When making the largest investment choice in most families' financial portfolio, you need a realtor who truly understands the market and can negotiate favorable terms and conditions. I'm Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the preferred real estate advisor for buying or selling along the Gulf Coast. For full access to the MLS in Mobile, Baldwin County, Pensacola, Destin, or Panama City, just Google Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection.
In the studio today and sitting across from me is Angelo Depaola. He is the team leader of the Coastal Connection Realty. He's the man running the show that I referenced in the intro comments, and delighted to have him on the show. Angelo, thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
I think we got a good show planned today. We were going to talk about market trends. We're going to talk about your expertise in the market around the Gulf Coast. We're going to talk a little bit about how you manage this extraordinary business of yours. But before we get into that, introduce yourself, if you would. Tell people about your business, how long you've been around. Give everybody the background so they'll know why your expertise matters.
So this is my 9th year in real estate. Before that, I did heavy equipment rentals, and I've always been in some sort of sales, whether it's advertising, boat, heavy equipment. And one thing I've noticed through that kind of lifetime of selling, honestly, since I've been out of college, is that sales come down to one thing, and it's all relationship based. And I think that's kind of where we've really kind of carved out a niche. We're very intentional on not just that transaction in the beginning. I know everybody talks about relationships, but relationships run both ways and they last over long periods of time. And if you're going to be a successful salesperson, then you need to create as much meaningful relationships and leverage them. It's funny when people ask me what I do, I'm in the relationship business and we leverage that into real estate sales.
That's interesting. I want to get into that because as I've said to you personally, and as I said in the opening comments, you weren't here for that. You seem to have a magic touch on these things, but let's get into, before we get into that, the practices of your business, let's talk a little bit about a market update, a real estate market update. The primary number of your homes sold are in, is it Baldwin County?
Mainly Baldwin County, but what makes us pretty unique in the real estate space is that we have joined every MLS from Mobile, Alabama, all the way to Apalachicola. So while we're located and we operate out of Orange Beach, we'll do a couple years every year in Mobile and Dolphin Island, and we'll do a couple deals all the way down the Gulf Coast, all the way into Panama City every year.
So when we say market update, it's not exclusively Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan. It's Dolphin Island to Apalachicola.
Yeah, and we started doing that a few years ago because we had a lot of repeat referral customers that really liked the customer service that we provided. So we had been referring that business out to other people. And, when you give a referral, you're putting your stamp of approval on it. And So we just looked at the amount of revenue that was being generated for other people, and we just didn't like the way that a lot of people run in their business compared to how we ran our business. So I said, you know what? I don't mind driving to Dolphin Island from Orange Beach. I don't mind going to 30A or Destin. Those are good markets. We are capable. We have the people in place to do high-end research to figure out whether we're educating our people properly and making sure we're getting them the best deal they can possibly get, whether they're buying or selling. And then on the backside, I have a whole team to support that service end.
So let's get into the market update. What's going on out there?
All right. So we did this one for Baldwin County in particular, and it's because it's our home base, and it's just be honest with you, we're really good at this area in Baldwin County. So what we did was we looked year over year in January of last year versus January of this year. And what we're seeing is prices are still up over January 2022 versus January 2023. But you got to remember, coming into January 2022, we were coming out of fourth quarter. It was a little bit slow in the market. People had this nervousness, like we'd been building ever since COVID. And they're like, everybody remembers 2008 still.
Yeah.
So they had a little nervousness about them. So they kind of pulled back a little. And so prices weren't climbing. And so in Baldwin County as a whole, we break Baldwin County into two markets. You have your traditional market, which is residential homes. It's kind of fully north up to Bay Minette. And then you have your island resort-based properties, which is Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Well, in the traditional market, we're up 6% on sales prices. And in the island resort-based area, we're up 15% year over year, which it doesn't make any sense because we've been dealing with high interest rates since June of last year, really.
So the predictions of home values falling are not happening based on what you're seeing.
No, they're not. The reason they're not is if you're a homeowner and you're in a mortgage for 3%, 4%, 5%, or you paid cash, like what is the advantage to getting out of your house right now? And so those people are really holding firm on their prices. And if you're a buyer, prices have gone up a whole lot. You're probably kind of holding out a little bit too. Doesn't mean transactions aren't happening, but we're in a bit of a log jam, to be quite honest with you. And I'll tell you what tells that story is for the traditional base market, days on market is up almost 49%. They're up almost 68% in the resort-based market. And then when you look at transaction count, how many deals are happening? Traditional base market is down 35%, and in the resort-based market, down 43%.
So the homes are staying on market longer. We're seeing fewer transactions, but the prices are continuing to increase.
Incrementally. They actually have come down a little in the past 6 months. And what tells that story is this next kind of little deal. And you can't just take 1 month set of data and say this is the trend.
Yeah,
I think that the economy is very much in flux right now, and history is nothing but a series of events that nobody saw coming that changed the course of humanity.
Right.
Whether that's here locally or on a national or global level. So in Baldwin County as a whole, we're down 14% in transactions. Prices in January versus December of last year in Orange Beach are up 4.2%. In Gulf Shores, they're around 10.9%. Doesn't make any sense. It just means a few more expensive homes sold in Orange Beach in January versus December. But my guess is we'll have a better view of what that data really looks like in June of this year when we've had a whole year of compression in the market. And that's what we have. I mean, we've been down, 30, 35 and 43% in transactions. That's going to break loose at some point, and somebody's going to win that, whether it's buyers, sellers, I don't know.
So let's imagine that you're one of we live down here in Mobile in Baldwin County, you and me, and we're familiar with the area a little bit, but a lot of the listeners that we have are up in the northern part of the state, the Gadsden, Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, Birmingham, and many of them vacation down here, and they've thought of a second home. What is the second home market like specifically? You gave me some dates or some data there. And what would your advice to them be? Sit on it? You need to make a move. Imagine I'm from Huntsville and you're telling me what you think's going to happen.
Well, first of all, the second home market is completely different than, say, a beachfront condo, because that's really an emotional purchase, whereas beachfront condos are more based on ROI, return on investment, how much it costs, how much the cost of money is, and whether that's going to kick back the kind of return that somebody that's in that business would like to receive. Second homes, I mean, for both sellers and buyers, that's an emotional deal. And that really depends on, do you like it and can you afford it? Mm-hmm. And what we've been seeing really over the past, all through the Gulf Coast, especially Dauphin Island, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Destin, anywhere that there's beach houses, is a generational shift. The people that bought in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, they've been there 20, 30 plus years, and they have had a good run. But living in a beach house, you have to deal with hurricanes. You have to deal with all the maintenance of having a house that's affected by salt water.
Yep.
And you're starting to see this shift of people that loved being there, but they're now 75, 85 years old. They're done. Their kids have moved on. Nobody's using the house, and it's time to let it go. And we're seeing a lot more of people's ability to negotiate. And this is an example I'll give. We had a house that a buyer of mine put under contract. It was listed at 1.9. 9 months ago, that house could have gone into a bidding war and been up in the $2 million range. Mm-hmm. We negotiated that down to 1.75. We're seeing houses that list at 1.85. They're under contract for 1.6. The ability to negotiate in the second home market, if you're looking there, like right now is the time to strike. There's what I think just enough fear and motivation from sellers to let properties go at a reasonable price. We're not seeing that on the investment property where, we're coming in with similar offers and hard to get return or people to counter us back.
Are you finding this generational turnover, these homes are in good shape, or have they been somewhat neglected? Is that the ability to negotiate is due to the neglect to the home?
A little bit of both. If you own a home, I say pick a project every year and redo it. Redo a bathroom, redo a pool, redo a fence. Some of them need to be worked on. You can, beach houses get so expensive.
Angelo Depaola is with me. We're going to pick this up after break, talking about the status of these homes, what's going on in the second home market. You're listening to What's Working. We'll be right back.
I'm Paul Lewis, General Manager for Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business, same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com and let's talk about your next commercial project.
Customer service never goes out of style. In fact, I think it's safe to say that customer service is more valuable and more important now more than ever. Hi, this is Cam Marston. One thing that my over 200 episodes of What's Working has taught me is how important customer service is to building and maintaining a thriving business. It's the growing need for customer service that's led me to partner with one of the state's leading customer service trainers to create our program called Delivering 5-Star Customer Service. Your team will get one 90-minute training session per month for 6 consecutive months. Each session builds on the skills learned the previous month, allowing your customer-facing teams to practice before moving on to the next lesson. And the 6 lessons address everything from appearance to electronic communications to conflict resolution to maintaining a service mindset. Our program travels and is delivered in person at your workplace, nothing virtual. You simply can't practice the level of the skills this course teaches virtually. For more information, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's schedule a time to talk. Remember, you have less to fear from outside competition than you do from discourtesy and bad service from inside your own company. Again, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's talk about your business. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston in the studio, my brand new studio, with Angelo Depaola. He's the team leader of the Coastal Connection Realty. We were talking just prior to break a little bit about the condition of these houses. Angelo, you were talking about the generational turnover and that the family that's owned it for the past 20, 30 years, their kids are gone. The house isn't getting used much. This is for second homes. The house isn't getting used much and they're turning over. And the question was, is the negotiability of this due to the deteriorating status of the house? If I'm 75, 80 years old, I simply can't maintain it like I once did.
And yeah, there's definitely instances where that's the case. You know, it's nothing to go spend $200,000 to $500,000 to update a beach house when you look at pools that might need to be updated, docks that they need to be fixed, you know, and just general decor. If you built a house in the 1980s and you hadn't done a bathroom and kitchen remodel, guess what? It's about time to do it. And then there are houses that are in great shape, but people are ready to get rid of them. They've had a good run and they're moving on to the next chapter in life. They tend to be a little bit more motivated.
Do you find when you consult your clients, do you tell them, look at this as a 20-year investment. Look at this as a 20-year emotional investment, family investment, get to know the kids and the grandkids investment? Or is that your coaching for them?
I always want to ask what their game plan is. It's important to us to not only know your short-term plan, but your long-term plan. You know, for a lot of people, their house or their second home is one of the largest assets that they own. And so we need to understand, hey, are you buying this because you want to have a place for 3-4 years and you want to flip it? You know, I don't know if right now is the best time to be in that game. Are you looking for a place that you're going to hold for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Then, yeah, I mean, real estate is a great place to be. And it's just like the stock market. I mean, if we could time the market, we wouldn't be here doing this interview. I'd probably be fishing.
Right.
So it's time in the market, not timing the market. And that's what I think. And then, you know, what do you put a value on? Time with your kids, time with your grandkids, you know, fishing, going out and boating. I mean, you know, all that, you know, you need to take some pictures and create some memories if you're going to own one of these, in my opinion.
So there are people, I suspect, that are buying homes on the beach and are intending to VRBO those homes. Now, in many places across the country, I was in New Orleans last weekend, and this is going on in New Orleans, they are cracking down on these VRBO abilities, city codes and ordinances and things of that nature. And those that have made perhaps VRBO investments, in other words, I'm going to buy this home and VRBO it, are realizing or about to have their hands slapped and say, we're not going to allow that anymore. The quality of our neighborhoods is deteriorating due to this. What is your knowledge of that in your marketplace?
Well, look, Orange Beach was one of the first municipalities, not just in the Southeast, but the entire country, to really start to look at this and look at how you create long-term value in the real estate market. And it's not by taking every neighborhood that you can possibly find and allowing short-term rentals. What that does in the long run is it creates a place people don't want to live. The last thing you want, if you live in a neighborhood and it's your primary residence, is to have somebody drinking whiskey at 1 o'clock in the morning and howling at the moon. So, and it was very controversial, and people thought it would actually hurt property values if you were not able to turn these things into short-term rental. And I think when you look at the really long game of that, it's been one of the best moves the city has made. And basically what they said, hey, look, if you're not a condo and you're not a PUD and you're not on the main beach boulevard there in Orange Beach, then you're not going to be allowed to short-term rent. Now, one of the things that legally they couldn't do is if you were already short-term renting and you had that short-term rental license, you're grandfathered in. Mm-hmm. And the person that bought that house, because there are a handful of houses on canals and bays that did have that short-term rental license in place, the person that buys it has 30 days to reinstate that license in their name. But if you don't do that, it's gone forever. And I think it's been one of the best moves the city has made.
Yeah. What about 30A? I've been over there. It's a big spring break destination. What is it called? The little community, the planned community. There's watercolor and adjacent.
There's watercolor, there's the hub, there's all this stuff.
Yeah.
Those were built to be rentals.
Well, I was about to say, are those rules coming down on those destinations? I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, look, you got to look at what something was meant to be from the get-go. Martinique or Terry Cove in Orange Beach was meant to be a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
But if you look at watercolor, that wasn't developed. That wasn't ever thought of as a place that people might live full time. Are there some people that live full time? Yeah. But a majority of the people, that's an investment.
Right.
And you probably won't see that change. But the reason you're seeing what you saw in New Orleans is because that's, if you have a school there and you have people trying to run businesses there and you really want to create in your municipality and you're looking at long-term income from property taxes, I think that you're more than likely to see those values over the long run increase. On top of that, it also buoys the stuff that's already really rental property by creating less supply of it. And then you can get lodging taxes off of that.
Yeah. So Dauphin Island was going through this conversation as well. I want to say it was the east end of Dauphin Island was really struggling with the VRBO market. I'm not sure what the resolution was, but I know that it was an issue. Again, we saw it come up in New Orleans. We've seen it in multiple places.
I went to elementary school in Dauphin Island. My dad used to just drop me off. He worked for the FDA lab. He dropped me and my stepbrother off at the basketball court there, and we'd roam the island all day until he picked us up, usually back at the basketball court about 5 o'clock. And that east end of the island, I mean, that is residential. Yes. And that is second homes, and that has no place, in my opinion, in the vacation rental market.
Yeah.
You get, basically to where the school was, west, and that's second homes, that's vacation rental property, and that's what it should be.
That's what it should be. So your advice to anybody who says, I'm making a real estate investment to VRBO it in Orange Beach, you're going to say, wait a minute now, be careful what you're thinking, make sure you're doing it in the right place. There are places that have severely restricted this, et cetera.
I would tell you, no matter where you're purchasing, especially if you're looking to VRBO, Airbnb, put it in a short-term rental market, you need to have somebody that understands the market. I mean, most of the general public doesn't understand all of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, most of the realtors don't either. We get calls all the time on our listings that are, very much in a second home market or primary residence market of people that want to VRBO them. And that's a 2-week minimum. And they say, well, what if we price it for 1 week and put it at the 2-week minimum? Here's the problem. Last time I went to VRBO and I usually search for about a week if I'm going to rent a house. Well, if you're in a 2-week minimum and somebody's searching in a week, your property's not going to show up. So you're not going to rent it out.
Yeah. Tell me about the people who are buying from you right now. Who are these customers? Are you seeing this change? You told me at one point that you're having people from, I think you said, as far away as Chicago buying in the stretch of the Gulf Coast that you represent.
Well, at the end of the day, we're really still a regional market. Do we have people from all over the country? I've got clients that are in Canada, and they're constantly buying. We have people in New York and California and Minnesota. But when you look at the bulk, and if you were to look at a Google search, a bulk of our people, most of them, quite honestly, come from Alabama. You know, you have Mobile. That's an easy drive. I think if you're looking for a vacation home, proximity to where you are should be one of the primary deciding factors. If it's more than a day drive, you're probably not going to use it as much.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on the I-65 corridor, you're going Mobile, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Nashville, St. Louis. All that comes right down to the Gulf Coast. And then we're on the intersection of I-10. So I-65, I-10, you have most of Mississippi, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Dallas, Houston. Those are our markets in Orange Beach. As you go into 30A, you're really looking at Dothan, Alabama, Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, that's a Panama City to Destin sort of market.
Yeah.
30A area.
When we used to go to 30A, lots of Atlanta license plates down there. Lots of T-shirts of kids on schools that I recognize as Atlanta high schools.
I always have my clients, they always tell me the serendipity of running into your neighbor at the beach. There's just something about a community of people. So if you're from Atlanta, we get some of those people down in Orange Beach, but to be honest, most of those are 30A, Destin, and into Panama City. That's what we see.
Yeah, I think that's what we saw in our experience down there. 30A, a remarkably beautiful stretch of the beach. It's just glorious. It's glorious up and down the coast. But I remember looking out at that beach at 30A the first time I saw it and thought, this is just stunning. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, you know, the sand here on the Gulf Coast comes down the Appalachian Mountains out into the Gulf of Mexico, the way the currents run it, and pushes it east to west. So we have that crystal.
We'll be right back
sand.
after this break. Sorry, Angelo. We'll be right after this break. You're listening to What's Working.
Is paying a real estate agent worth the money? I'm Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. Great real estate agents are like the best doctors. They listen deeply, make your goals their own, stay current on trends that impact your decisions, and have experience navigating unexpected situations. We help our clients make the best real estate decisions along the Gulf Coast. Google me, Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection.
Angelo Depaola is the team leader of the Coastal Connection Realty based down in Orange Beach. We're talking a little bit about the secondary home market. We're talking about property values in the vacation rental space. Angelo, since you and I met, you reached out to me and said, hey, I want to meet you. I'm interested in your show. But the touch you have on me, and you're my customer. I get something from you every week. A thank you note, a book, a gift, an idea, a thought, a letter, etc. And I'm low on your totem pole. I should be. You've got and so many of my colleagues here around Mobile know your name and know the work that you do and are all high on your services, etc. So here's a broad question. I'm going to allow you to jump in it however you want. How have you gotten so good at what you do?
Well, I think in the beginning we talked about this is really a relationship business. I don't know if there's a lot of people that spend more money than I do on advertising. But at the end of the day, last year, 84% of our business was repeat and referral.
84. It's remarkable. What's typical?
I don't know what the industry standard is.
Right.
I mean, the year before that, we were 96% repeat and referral. Mm-hmm. I think last year we had a lot more listings, so we got a lot more sign calls. That kind of goes into when we classify that lead, we classify that as an advertising lead.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of threw the numbers off a little for this past year. But I think you got to have a system in place, and you have to have a really good team. And this could be a whole show by itself. But we look at the group of people that we deal with. We have our vendor list, which is what you fall into. We have our referral partners and VIPs. We have our past clients. And so we're very intentional about staying engaged with those because those people already know you, like you, and trust you. So how do you do that when you're talking a list of 500 plus people? So the first thing you do is on Mondays, we have what we call our VIP list. These are our referral partners. These are and our vendors, who are quite often our referral partners because, like you mentioned before, we take very good care of the people that take care of us. And then on Tuesday, that call is what we call status update day. If you have a listing with us, if you are currently under contract with us, you're dealing with my team, but you're getting a call from me every Tuesday to understand, is everything on track? Are we good? Any questions that you might need, I'm here to help you out. Wednesday is a lead follow-up day, and that's not just the only day we follow up on leads, but that's dedicated to that. And then Thursday's past client day. Friday we call whale hunting. And so if you want to grow a big business, you need to have what we would call a channel account, somebody that can send you 10 or more deals a year. And
that's what whale hunting means, 10 or more deals a year. Yep. What is the identity of a whale hunter? What do they do that would send you 10 leads a year?
So that could be a developer. That could be a recruiter for a hospital or a large business. I mean, for instance, today, I don't think you would mind, but I went and had lunch with Bradley Byrne.
The president of the Mobile Chamber of Commerce.
Exactly. And here's the reason I want to understand what's going on in Mobile. It's not a hub of our business, but we do business here, is that so much of what happens in Mobile, Alabama, affects what happens in Baldwin County, Alabama.
Yeah.
And what just kind of blew my mind today was that, when we look at a 10-year trajectory of Mobile, on a minimum, 15,000 jobs.
Yeah.
That's just the stuff that they know that's in the books right now. So how do I look up? So I might have another whale that's maybe a developer. Hey, where are opportunities in Mobile? Well, that might be warehousing. Hey, do you want to come look at developing out warehouse space in Mobile? Well, look, if I can help him out with that, he's going to introduce me to somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's the system. And then, I think you got to have a human element to it, right? It can't all be business. And so we're touching base with phone calls, but we do something called Letter of the Heart. And it's just something for me once a month. It's whatever's on my mind, whatever's on my heart. And it has nothing to do with business. And I get about as much out of it or more out of it than the people I send that letter to, because it gives me a minute to be retrospective in what we're doing. And we do evidence of success. So it's personal. Evidence of success is, hey, we do a good job at business. We do client events. We're a connector. I don't know. I think that's like if you're a salesperson or a business owner, like that's the key to it. And then you got your team, right? Like I can't do this without myself. I mean, my morning started at 5 a.m. finishing up some thank you notes.
You had told me you write thank you notes every day.
I write 4 thank you notes a day. I think the biggest thing that I got out of that when I decided that was going to be something that we were going to do was that it forces you to find gratitude every day. So it's really been as much of I think a good business practice as much as a mindset kind of thing. It's one of the things that cocks the trigger in the morning. So I do John Maxwell's Leadership Bible. It's a 1-page thing every day, a gratitude journal, and I write my 4 letters every morning. And that kind of sets the pace. By then, the team starts arriving to the office, and then we have a jump start meeting every morning so we understand what's going on with our marketing. We have a full-time gal in our marketing department that handles all our marketing. We have somebody in our contract to close department that handles all our contracts. They're in there every day. And then we have a listing coordinator who also runs my schedule. And so when we talk about the ability to provide customer service, you got to ask yourself, is the person you're dealing with prepared to do that? Like, we're way over employed for the amount of business. Like, I think we could do a much worse job on customer service and probably put a little bit more money in our pocket, but that's not what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to grow a big business. I want to grow a really good business with people that like to do business with me, and I like to do business with them. And that's what happens when you have a good repeat and referral business kind of game plan.
I've never heard of a thank you note as being as a way to set your mind right about gratitude, and doing it first thing in the day kind of gives you the appropriate approach to every day of an attitude of gratitude, and you trigger it. You cock the trigger every morning by writing 4 thank you notes a day.
Hey, you know what? There's no way I can do what I do, and we can't be successful as successful as we are without having the people on our team. And I got to have some gratitude for those people. I got to show them I love them. I got to show our customers that I love them. I've got to show. You got to bring it for your family, right? You got to bring it for your friends. I mean, it pulls you a lot of different ways. And I think, like, when you can sit there and look at, hey, I just want to say thank you for putting me in touch with that person. I wanted to say thank you for, hey, going out to lunch with me. Yeah. That means a lot.
Well, I've received a number of thank you notes from you. And in fact, I pull them out of the mailbox and say, this is probably a thank you note for the email that I sent him yesterday. And it is. And I look at it and say, it's just remarkable. I can't help but think about myself. Why don't I do this? I notice the way I feel when I open your thank you note and think I could do this for other people. It's not that hard, but it's a discipline you have developed and honed, and has undoubtedly shown up in your business.
Well, I wish I could take all the credit for it, but we have a group that we consult with that shows us not just how to sell real estate, but how to be a business owner, how to treat people better. I mean, they're in everything from our business to our personal finances to whether or not I'm taking my wife out on a date night once a week.
No kidding.
So
they're granular.
I have high accountability. And I think that's the thing. Like, if you're going, you've got to surrender to a process, and then you have to implement whatever you're surrendering to. And then you have somebody hold you accountable. I mean, if you look at the great football teams, the great businesses, the great religious leaders, all those people surrendered to something higher. Do you think if you're the best quarterback in the country, you're going to go to Alabama and tell Nick Saban how to run the offense?
Not if you want to play.
Not if you want to play. So you have to surrender to him. You could be the best at whatever you do, but you're still surrendering to Nick Saban.
Yeah.
We have somebody that mentors us, and we surrender to that process, and we've been doing it for a couple of years now. And whenever somebody asks me, we just do the right things over and over and over again. We're delivering what I consider the best customer service in the business. We're looking to create long-term relationships. We create a vision and mission statement around that. And those are up in our office, and our people know that that's the standard that we're going to live up to, and that we're going to bring to the table every day.
You told me at one of our lunches that this process that you've the process that you've surrendered to should yield a pipeline. And that's the promise of the person who you've surrendered to, something like that, right?
Yeah. So you got to back into it. How many deals do you need to do? How much expenses do you have? How much revenue you have to create? And then you figure out how many leads you need to have and what your closing ratio is. It's pretty easy, but it's hard to execute.
Angelo Depaola, we're going to keep him around for segment 5. We'll be right back.
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with a designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio today doing something we don't normally do. We're having Angelo into segment 5 before we go back with final comments. Angelo, if you've just joined us, is the team leader for the Coastal Connection Realty based in Orange Beach. And Angelo, you were sharing your process with us, and I know there are people out there going, I'd kind of like to learn more about the guy or check out some of the second homes or whatever it may be that I'm interested in. How can people find you?
So I think the easiest way is you could probably just Google me. That way you don't have to remember phone numbers. If you can't Google Angelo Depaola Realtor or the Coastal Connection and put real estate, you're going to end up on my website. There you're going to find how to email us, how to the phone number for our office. It's the best way to reach me. They'll schedule an appointment with me. That's the easiest way.
And if you schedule that appointment or even give them a call, you're probably going to get a thank you note.
You will get a thank you note.
Angelo, it's been great to have you. I'm proud to call you a friend, and I thank you for your business as an advertiser on the show.
Thank you, Cam. I feel lucky to know you.
You're very kind. Those of you who listen to the show regularly may remember my conversation with Tulane Freeman School of Business economist Peter Raschuti. And Peter was kind of very hopeful, let's say, about the levers the Fed was pulling at the time to try to prevent the recession that everybody had been predicting. And Peter felt like his comment was, ignore what the media says, ignore what the CEOs say, watch what they're doing. Don't stop listening to the media and watch what the CEOs are doing. And I can't help but wonder if some of the comments Angelo made regarding the real estate, particularly along the Gulf Coast here, that continues to appreciate, is one of those signs that Peter may have been referring to, such as, they're talking about the economy bottoming out. They're talking about a recession coming, but look how prices are increasing. Look at the transactions. Yes, there are fewer, but look at the transactions that are going on out there. Maybe this recession that we had talked about is not actually going to be as brutal. Now, as we record this, we may look back in 6 months and say, boy, that was high hopes. That's not what happened at all. But I can't help but think about Peter when hearing Angelo make his comments about the price of real estate in his neck of the woods in which he holds his expertise. I can tell you this, folks, as a friend of Angelo's, the care and concern he shows for me, again, as a vendor to him, and I know it's more than double for the people that purchase from him. It's really very remarkable, and a good guy with a great mission and an intention to help people, an intention, quite frankly, and he and I talked about this a little after the interview had ended, an intention to serve. And that has it's yet another fingerprint that keeps up showing up in this show from the organizations that, one, seem to be doing very, very well, and two, have loyal followers, both as employees and as customers. The thing that they so often have in common is an intention, an ability, and a desire simply to serve. Not to serve customers, to serve everyone, including customers. And that seems to eventually catch up to them in such a wonderful way. I'm proud to know him, Angelo. All right, that'll wrap us up for this week. As far as I can tell, the new technology I told you about in the opening segment seems to be hanging in there. Of course, if I've lost this recording, you'd never know. because I'd have to record it again. But it seems to be hanging in there, and hopefully we can make a practice out of this going forward. Remember, this show is also a podcast, and if you have friends in other parts of the country that are considering real estate in this neck of the woods, go find the podcast at whatsworkingcam.com, and you can send it to them from that page. You can also subscribe to the different podcast services where the show is available, and I hope you will do so. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those pin, post, paste, social media places, active on that. We'll have another show next week. I want to start by saying thanks to John Thompson. He's show's producer. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.